Hey everybody, Jane here, and I am here to talk about my 2024 reading goals and goals in general. So let's get to it, shall we?
Pictures and patterns put into words that stream across the page, capturing life as soul spoken.
All right, for those who don't know, life has been kind of crazy since 2020. So in 2020, I moved to a new job that was in cancer services. And while that job was absolutely amazing, I entered it right in the beginning of 2020, and we all know what happened that year. And ever since then, just like reading and writing and even social media, YouTube have just not been huge priorities in my life. Um, I loved my job so much, but it was very draining, very emotional, and there just wasn't much left of me. So, about 3 weeks ago, I started a new job that hopefully will help me be a little bit more centered in my life. It is still in healthcare, so it is still doing what I love and I'm passionate about, but it's not quite as intense as working in cancer services. So, with that change in mind, I am going to, for the first time in so many years, make a 2024 goal list. We may reach these goals, we may not, but this is what I want to strive for. And I'm hoping with the big change in my life that it can actually happen. So, I know most of you here refer to the reading goals. We'll do those first. Then I want to talk about a couple writer goals. All right, so my first reader goal is that 50% of the books that I read in 2024 or more need to come from my owned TBR. Like so many people, I love to buy books. And unfortunately, over the past several years, I've been buying them much more quickly than I'm reading them. So I am out of shelf space. Like I've been out of shelf space for a while, but we are like actually out of shelf space. It's like I'm even sitting there going like I want the new book, but I really can't I don't have space for it on my shelf. So I really want to be very conscientious about reading owned TBR. So books that are physically on my TBR shelf, like my bookshelf, but also books on my Kindle because I probably have 1,000 books on my Kindle. And again, I'd gotten them with all the good intentions because they look so good and I want all the books of reading them and just didn't. I didn't have the time, I didn't have the energy. So, I want to make sure that even though I love the library and I love supporting our library and libraries are amazing, I want to make sure that I'm trying to read books that I own as well so that I can get them off of my shelf and on their way to bigger and better things and bring in more new books that I can love. The next one, and this is kind of this in the same vein. So I don't want to do like a book buying ban, even though I need to do a book buying ban. So instead of doing a book buying ban, what I'm going to do is my goal is going to be for every new book that comes in, I need to read two of my owned TBR that can go out. So I don't usually keep books on my shelf unless they're a favorite. So most of the books that I read after I'm done with them, I do. I give them to friends. Sometimes I donate to them to the little library. I recently opened a Pango store, just kind of depending on what the book is and where I feel that's the best fit is where the books are going to go. But my goal of bringing half in that I get out will slowly help me deplete the books on my shelf so I have the shelf space. So that's my for buying. I don't want to do a complete ban because that's just not me. But for every book that I bring in, I need to put two out in the world. So yes, so reading books and getting rid of books. Big goals. I really want to read more smaller authors, so indie presses, indie authors. I'd like at least 10% and probably a lot more than that, but I wanted to like give myself some wiggle room of the books that I read this year to be by small press or indie authors. When I can tell, it's not always possible to tell. It's not always doesn't jump always jump out at you like I don't want to get it wrong. But yeah, so I really want to try to increase focusing on indie authors and smaller presses, people who aren't getting all the love that they should be. And my last reading goal, and I kind of mentioned that in my TBR video this year or this month for December, is I would like to be at a 75% read through rate of my one books. So I have an addiction to Goodreads giveaways and Library Things giveaways. I love them and I win a lot. I shouldn't say a lot, but like usually if I have had like a full day to go through all of the listings that are listed, I'll usually, enter for probably 200 or 300 books and get 4 or 5. That's not an unusual number for me. Well, the problem I have is as much as I love these books and am excited about them when I hit the button, sometimes by the time they get here, I'm onto different things or I'm not. I don't want to say I'm not as interested because that's not usually the case. It's not a lack of interest. It's usually a that's not the shiny new thing right now. And I'm off doing another shiny new thing. Maybe it's not what I'm in the mood for. And then they sit on the shelf. Now, there are certain books that I'm not going to be counting in this because they're books that I'm reading to the book that I won. So, some of you may know I started reading the Will Reese mystery series, and I think I'm on book 4. How that started is I won book 8, and most mystery series you can just jump right in. Not the Will Reese mystery series. I mean, I guess you could, but there's so much character stuff happening that I picked up the book that I'd won, excited to read it because it looked amazing. And about a chapter in was like, "Oh, this is one of those series you can't read from where you are." So like I am working on that one to try to get to where I'm at. So I'm not counting that. And like also just throwing this out there, authors put books in Goodreads with the hope of getting reviews and things like that. And this author's strategy is amazing because she does write good books. They are great. So like she gave me one book and I plan to review everything because it is a series I'm really loving. But so that's not going to count. And there's probably a couple other situations where it won't count or like I'm going to allow myself to DNF them if necessary. And so like I have to at least try them. But in that 75% goal, like even if I don't read it and just DNF it, it still counts. Because sometimes a book in a giveaway, you're not holding it in your hand. And last year I won a book, and then and it seemed really cool. It seemed like it was going to be something I was really going to be excited about, but it was a nonfiction book. And as I was looking through the table of contents, there were some really problematic elements. And so I dug further, and they were really problematic for me. And so I realized like that book was just not going to be one that I could read because I couldn't. So that could happen, especially with nonfiction. We're getting a description, but we're not actually physically seeing the book. We're not able to look for things that might be triggers for us. So if I win something and it's not a good fit afterwards, like I'm going to give myself grace there. But the general goal is to be at a 75% of all the books I've won to this point in time and history, having read them. And I would also like to kind of be there with a couple books that are also gifted by authors. So I'm kind of putting this all in the same category. I've been gifted by books by some authors, and sometimes those were like ones that I volunteered for, and sometimes they weren't. But regardless, I do want to like enjoy them, try to enjoy them. Yeah. So that has been the excitement of that, please tell me all about your goals for 2024 that involve reading. I will also say for writing, my goal is to start writing again. I have put out one book, I think, since 2020. I have a lot of books that need editing. I have a lot of books that I'm like in the middle of writing. And my general goal next year is just to get on it. Like, I'd like to release 3 books because I have 3 that are like at the end stages of editing, maybe, but just more writing. So, those are my specific reading goals, and I would like to write more. Tell me about your goals for 2024. See you next time. Bye.